Call council meeting to order, and there will be a little bit of an addition from an email request added as part of Reed's report. Other than that, do I have a motion for the agenda? Gordon and Callahan, all in favor? Carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest, if any. None noted. Motion for approval of the previous minutes of the adjustment hearing and the regular council meeting of September 15th. Councillor Campbell and Councillor Vauden. All in favor? Carried. Deputations. Oh, two motions.
I'll make the second one.
I'll second the second.
Same people doing the second. Moving to deputations.
All motion.
No, just all agreeing to the motion.
Oh, all in favor? Okay. Introducing James Marshall, our fire prevention officer. Do you have anything you want to say, James, or David?
Just by way of a quick introduction, as the council's aware, North Huron and Morris Turnberry have entered into an agreement whereby we're contracting fire prevention services for Morris Turnberry. It'd be my pleasure to introduce James Marshall, fire prevention officer. James recently completed his training, and 24th of October he attends a ceremony to recognize his achievement by completing his fire prevention training. It's a pleasure to have him on board.
Thank you very much for having me. I've been on roughly a month now. In that time, we're looking at about 20 inspections, getting out, meeting quite a few people, trying to put faces to names of all the folks that I've heard about, and certainly in North Huron. We've worked together with North Huron Fire Department and finished our Alarm for Life campaign in Morris Turnberry for the year. Looking at getting into approximately 300 houses in the rural area of Morris Turnberry. Didn't have a tremendous success rate as far as smoke alarm compliance went. I hear it's about par for the course. We looked at about 10% compliance, where upon entering a house, everything was 100% legal. We did leave every house legal. Some homes we had to install up to 4 smoke alarms, where they had no protection whatsoever, and they were 20 minutes from the local fire hall. So working with the fire department made it much easier than me trying to go door to door and do it on my own. So far it's been a great experience, and I've been certainly welcomed by the department and everybody in the community. Thanks for having me.
And I think it's a good time to welcome you to the community as a fire prevention officer. Being Fire Prevention Week being celebrated, and the number of places that are talking about the lack of smoke alarms in the houses, that thank you for being in the forefront of trying to have us in a compliant manner.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to the Reed's report. I think the first thing I should do, being is this is our acting CAO clerks meeting, that Barbara Wilson, welcome. I've worked with her before at the county. We're lucky to have somebody of her capability to help us out. Thank you very much. Pauline's got her picture now. Okay. And that I got an email middle of Friday afternoon that I didn't get read until supper time. That of urgency is a request from the Rural Ontario Municipal Association for support of a draft letter that they are sending to Industry Canada over support of basically trying to slow down Industry Canada declaring further areas that are actually rural, but for broadband capability, there is a push to move a whole bunch of them to an urban designation, which would make it far easier for them to be sold off to some of the large internet providers, which would be a long-term detriment to the independent telecoms that are quite familiar to us in Huron County and strongly support the community initiative to have broadband. So that you want me to read the letter of request, or have I explained that I would like to be able to send a letter of support for the Roma position through to Industry Canada?
I think it was in our package, was it not? I'm not sure about that, but I know I read it.
The Ron Eddy's letter?
Yes.
Yes.
I would certainly be in support of it. I think it's extremely important. Our telecoms our local telecoms have put forth a huge effort. They've invested their own money, and they're solid businesses. They've been ahead of the tide, really, in terms of delivering broadband service to this area. I think it would be a shame to, it would really destroy them, I think, in many ways, if this were to go through. So I think we need to support that.
I can read a possible wording of the motion, that the Council of the Township of North Huron direct staff to forward a letter to Industry Canada for support of Roma's protection of rural broadband communications.
I'd make that motion.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor McGowan. Discussion on the motion? Burn.
Is there any consultation with the smaller companies to make sure that they're, I mean, it could be in their financial plan to build to a certain size and then amalgamate to make a bigger company, which this could hinder, or maybe even join with other companies? What's their voice in this?
I have some information, but I'll go to Brock.
The 5 local co-ops have banded together. They have their own concentric organization. I was project manager when we were extending the broadband system to the rural areas in Huron County, and I worked with them closely. They're very, very powerful. They're very well funded, well organized, and well managed. And they work in concert with each other, even though they have separate territories. And they're very much aware of this. In fact, they are desperately threatened by this regulation, and that's why we're supporting them.
That I will say that this is correspondence I got back from the Independent Telecom Providers Association. I contacted Glenn Grube from Hurontel and Angela Snyder from Hay Communications. She's president of the independent ones, former employee of Hurontel. They're saying initially maybe it won't affect them a lot, but in the long run, Being as Greg McClinchy works for a federal member, I sent an email to him, and in Greg's response, in a word, yes, this is true, that it can cause havoc to our independent telecom providers, and the government's goal is to make the market more financially attractive in an effort to entice new entrants to the Canadian marketplace. This is to buy more big companies to come in and take over the service license areas. And that by way of rural isn't necessarily rural anymore. They're changing the definitions so that if you're changing the definitions of everything that's involved, I don't believe there's a lot of security for the independent telecoms that are stepping forward in a big way, putting in the cable that they are to have us on the best broadband that we can get. Any further questions or comments? All in favor of the motion? Carried. So we're following through that for my Huron County Council meeting report from the October 1st, 2014 meeting. Start out with Warden's remarks, minutes of the previous meetings. We went through Warden's Emergency Service Awards for EMS, Fire, and Police. Especially noteworthy, the police officer from Huron County honored this year was Russ Nesbitt, a longtime firefighter with the Blythe community of over 20 years, a community champion and individual that provides a lot of leadership, and a very down-to-earth person that really cares for how things happen in the community. And then we received a human resource policy review done by Nigel Bell Chamber, that there was 103 appendages to this, so that it was just introduced to us and we received it. The official passing or amendments to it will be at next month's council meeting. In sort of an example of one of the county council committees that I'm on, this is county financial and purchasing policies. This is probably the last time it will ever be printed out like this, except for one copy. Going to digital copies, that the one digital copy, as it is updated, as things are changed, will be current. It is almost impossible to keep this much information where you're going in and taking out 2 or 3 clauses and changing something around. It's almost impossible to keep them completely up to date. Basically, for what Nigel brought on, there was a preamble. There was about 9 sections in hiring policies for human resources. On the job, there was about approximately 18. There was questions, how often are the policies reviewed and changed, which is being changed, that they will be reviewed at least yearly. And that there's the personal development policies, recognition of benefits, when you have to be away from work, ending employment, and the appendix for the forms and procedures that are being gone over and updated. Then we moved to correspondence. A big part of that was reports from Osago Bayfield for July and September meetings. There was also an update on the July Drinking Water Source Protection Committee minutes. For July, reports, the order that they're in is Board of Health, Committee of the Whole Day 1, Committee of the Whole Day 2, Library Board, and every third month there is an Accessibility Advisory Committee report. And for bylaws, 2014-104 is a road user agreement with the St. Common Energy Limited Partnership. Bylaw 105 is a bylaw to appoint citizens to various boards of the county. Bylaw 106 is to enter into an agreement for service manager administration agreement for investment in affordable housing. Bylaw 107 was to enter into an agreement with the province on Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. And bylaw 108 was to appoint an auditor from the RFP, and that is moving to KPMG. Basically adjournment and the singing of O Canada for the county council report. And Donna, do you have any comments for financial as to just say when we are doing it?
Just that we're calling for a motion now here. We're separating out the accounts payable, so the listings were as usual in your agenda packages.
Yeah.
And we're just having the motion separate.
Okay.
So is there any questions?
Any questions on that?
On the individual items or on the process?
Either.
Could I just, I do want to ask one question.
Okay.
On page 4, Collins Barrow, Toronto, we have a $19,331 bill. What was that for?
There's a report in your package under my section, and that's in regard to the HST review that we had. So that report covers that off, and that's their 40% recovery rate for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Barbara?
If council's pleasure, I would like to just advise you, there's been a small change in the way that the agenda has been put together. We are in compliance now with the procedural bylaw.
Okay.
So, just for your information.
So that we need a motion to approve the bills and accounts as of October 2nd, totaling $1,012,692.36. Do I have a mover? Campbell and McGowan? Any questions?
Can I ask a few questions? Yeah.
Okay.
On page 4, we got Collins Barrow Toronto LLP. Oh, sorry, we just talked about that
Yeah.
one. Sorry, I want to go up into the CICB visa. We have an Air Canada flight for, and it says EST for $1,000. Just curious what that was for the EST.
Certainly, as you're aware, we are a Firemaster contracted provider. They were going to come to the ESTC and train a bunch of instructors, but they wanted us to arrange a large number of instructors to be there for a week-long period. In exchange, we actually found it was less expensive to send one instructor that they deemed acceptable out there And then as we go to deliver their programs, they've authorized us to let him be the person that qualifies the instructors here.
If I could move to page 12, I'd just like to question, there's the Parker House Motel accommodations again for the STC for $372. My question is, were we out of room in Blythe?
Yeah, that was the Walton Motocross
Oh,
weekend.
okay.
And the good news is there are no hotels and motels around, but unfortunately ESTC had to go out of our own area to accommodate students.
That's it.
Okay, if no further questions, all in favor of the motion? Carried. Is there any questions on health and safety? Okay.
Your worship, can I ask just maybe one brief question? I know
Yes,
that
you
the
may.
health and safety is also an item every month on the agenda. Previously, we used to get copied of the minutes on a regular basis. I just wonder if we can continue that, if possible, unless it's killing a lot of trees. I mean, most of our getting our packages electronically anyway. It'd just be nice to see what issues are being discussed in the committee and what's going on.
There is a report in this.
No, but it's not always showing up every
Okay.
month, and that's what I want it
I
consistent.
noticed it's late.
Consistent. Um, got that, Bert? Okay, for CAO clerk, staff report. And the request for donation is that the council of the township of North Huron agree to support the second annual Christmas dinner with swimming time made available to the recipients of the Christmas dinner on December 20th from 10 a.m. till 12 noon at the Columbus Center. And further, that the expenses incurred for the rent of the swimming pool in the amount of $223.70 be allotted to the council miscellaneous account in the 2014 North Huron budget. McGowan and Bailey. Any discussion? Yep.
When did we change the name to the Columbus Center?
Oh, I can answer that. The meal itself is in the Columbus Center, the swimming is in the other area, so that's why the Columbus Center is in there.
The Columbus Center is the auditorium.
Auditorium.
Yeah, okay. All in favor? Carried. And for the point 2, the new drain petition. The council of the township of North Huron agree to accept the petition for drainage, the top. That the council of the township of North Huron agree to rescind the township of North Huron motion M9214 that states, North Huron Council hereby accepts the petition for drainage by owner for a new drain received from owner Wayne Hopper, Part 40, Lot 42, Concession 10, East Wallanosh Ward. This is McGowan and Hallahan. All in favor? And that to have it properly looking at the area, that the council of the township of North Huron agree to accept the petition for drainage works by owners, 4-1, from the property owners at lot 42, north half, concession 10, part 41, and lot 42, south half, concession 10, and lot 42, north half, concession 11, East Wallanosh, township of North Huron. Hallahan and Campbell. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Yeah, okay. And to have an engineer, a motion that the council of the Township of North Huron agree to appoint Jeff Dixon of R.J. Burnside and Associates Limited as the engineer to prepare the preliminary report.
So moved.
McGowan and Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Point 3, Director of Corporate Services, Deputy Clerk. There's a staff report and waiver of development charges. Kathy, do you want to
Okay. There's
answer?
a letter in your package dated September 30th from Howard Holmes asking that council consider deferring the development charges for a new residence that they are proposing to build on Lot 24 Plan 451 Carling Terrace. And they are requesting that the development charges for this property be waived for a period of 6 months from the date of issue or until the sale of the property. And in reply to that request, there is a report in your package, from Tim Lewis, Chief Building Official, whose suggestion is that we do not set a precedence by waiving development fees.
Yeah. That's a terrible precedent. When we look at the future development, I think this is a lot of nerve to put a request like this in. I think it's ridiculous.
Any other comments?
I think, in fairness to Mr. Oriole, I mean, he's a developer and he's trying to move a project along. I can totally respect that, but the development charges are in place for a reason. And if we start waiving them or deferring them, then that's going to be, obviously precedent setting, but obviously it'll just be a snowball effect. And if you get some large developments where the municipality has to front some of the infrastructure costs, those are those charges that are supposed to assist the municipality in putting those in. So, I mean, we really could put councils in a difficult position if we did that. So I would not agree to doing that personally.
Okay, I think there's a consensus that you can respond to that, Kathy.
Okay,
Moving to Point 4, Director of Recreation and Facilities. Point 1 is the staff report on the airport terminal roof. Pat?
Yeah, so in your package is are the results of the tender which were completed for the roof work. And council had earlier approved the funds for this project and asked that it be brought back once the tenders were received. It's recommended that council approve the fee submitted by the Feather and Roadhouse Company Limited for $24,885 plus HST and award the contract to replace the airport terminal flat roof to this roofing company. So I'm not sure if there's any questions. There were 4 groups that attended the mandatory site meeting and 3 submitted tenders, and Feather and Roadhouse had the lowest bid.
James?
Where's this company out of?
I believe this one is out of, Concord, Ontario.
Okay.
Make a motion to take a low bid.
Councilor McGowan moves, Councilor Gladden seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay. And also in our package, there was an article from the William Jets event. Do you want to comment further, Pat?
I just wanted to include this. This was an international magazine that our event that's held annually at the William Airport was featured again in. And just, there were 800 meals were served at the concession. Over 200 cars participated in the event, so they charge per carload coming in to watch the jets. There's 50 pilots from all over North America and one from Europe that attend this event. And they stay in our bed and breakfasts in our hotels, they eat their meals. They really enjoy the Anchor Pub while they're here. And we estimate if each pilot spent $300, which is a minimum while they're here, the economic spin-off of this event is about $15,000 just from the pilots attending. So it's a fantastic event, and you can read all about the details and see some of the great photos in that article. And if anybody wants a color copy of that, I can provide that. I just wanted to bring that to council's attention. What a great event it was.
Well, from attending it for a number of years, having Ali Mashinsky putting some of those jets through the paces is unbelievable, the precision and the speed that they can do it. So it's something that we probably should be having a lot bigger crowds, but it's the diehards and ones from all over North America that are coming here for it. Moving to Director of Finance, the Ontario Regulation 28409 report.
Make a motion to accept Don's recommendation.
Seconded. Bailey seconded. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. To point 2, the Roma Special Underwriting Group 1, if there's a motion required. James?
I guess I'm guilty of part of that, so I better make a motion.
And second.
Campbell and McGowan?
Just one question, Your Worship.
Certainly.
So through you to our fine finance director, does this put it to bed finally?
No.
You're hesitating. I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. So in the information package that you had there, it said that it has largely run its course and the statutes of limitation are beginning to dissolve, but and the committee is beginning a process to dissolve itself. So at this point, that's about the best that they can do to wrap this up. This has gone on since 1998. So anyway, this should be the last payment with any luck for sure, but I can't say for certainty.
Okay. You can call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, point 3, tax recovery on the HST. Need a motion.
I so moved.
Vauden and Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And an audit proposal update, verbal report.
Okay, so one of the other projects on our list this year was to put our audit in for tender. So because we're in the lame duck process right now, we can't actually accept any tenders for something that wasn't in the budget. So what we'll do in order to still move that along is prepare the proposals and send them out and have a recommendation ready for the December council meeting. So that doesn't commit council to anything because we always have the lowest tender, any tender not necessarily accepted, but that gets some of the legwork done to get this project still done before the end of the year. So we would still be able to get them out. What we would do is invite tenders from approximately 6 companies. As you heard Neil report earlier in the meeting that the county has also just been through this process as well and actually made a switch in auditors. And we would also post it on our website. And one of the main criteria, of course, is that they have extreme municipal experience. That would be the most important factor in evaluating the proposals that are returned. They would have to have good municipal experience and a number of other municipal clients. So anyway, that would be the process. They would go out the end of October, be returned and reviewed in November, and a recommendation ready for December. Is there any questions on that?
Okay, sounds good. And point 5, there is a 2015 OPP municipal police billing statement. That's for council's information as to basically how we fit into the OPP slots.
So the total billing for 2015, so that's actual, that's what it's going to be, $256.97 per household.
For 2015, Ray, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actual, just as an estimate.
And it's a phased build into it so that, yes, it would be approximately equal increases for another 4 years.
Yeah. It would be phased in up until 2019. So the whole package, it's quite a lengthy package, and we have it on for the October 20th meeting with the full package. But just to give you some of the background, in your package I showed you what we're paying this year, which is $218,000. That was in your budget for 2014. They're estimating that our year, though, will end up at $204,000, but our total cost in the future would be that $306,000. So in a 5-year span, we would be looking up. I had estimated $97,000 increase, but it's $87,000. So and so that would go against the East Wawanosh ward on a go-forward basis. In live, yes.
And just so you know, the actual, when you looked at the call for service data between 2011, 2012, and 2013, from 2012 anyway to 2013, the calls are down substantially from 345 to 269. So the average is 295 3/4 over a 4-year span.
We'll be discussing it further at next meeting, and then of course through the budget process.
So is this report sort of a summary of that larger report?
Yeah, it's just the first couple of pages. It just came in late. The agenda package was pretty much put together, so I was still able through Barb to add those couple of pages because everybody's talking about it, of course. So it just gives you the initial numbers in case you were asked.
Great, thanks.
Okay, moving forward, point 6, Fire Department of North Huron. There's the report for the month of September. Do you have comments you want to make, David?
Maybe just 2 items of note or significance. First one, Councillor Bailey asked me a question before the meeting, and I had flagged it as something just to so everybody understands. Point 3 under notable is former FD&H Tanker 9 was sold at the county auction. That truck actually went out of service about 2.5 years ago. It's been sitting at the ESTC and was used about 6 times during that time frame. So there's no point in the ESTC keeping it, nor was it frontline for fire service. Engine 2, which is the truck is coming out of service as ladder 2 goes in, at this point is still at the ESTC, and we'll see where you go with it next year for auction time. Second note, on the 27th of September, we frequently have alarm calls for alarm systems and stuff, but one of the things that's happened twice this year, and I think it's really cool, is we've had neighbors out in their yards or doing stuff in their yards. They've heard their neighbor's smoke alarm going off, gone to see if anybody's home, anybody's there. No one's there, so they've called us because they're concerned about their neighbor's property. And I just think that really speaks highly of our community and the people in it. And I'd just like to flag that because kudos to the folks from municipalities that are concerned about their neighbors to investigate and make sure that there isn't a fire or something wrong in their neighbor's house.
Any questions from council for David? Okay. Does anybody have anything for business arrivals from previous meetings? Okay, we'll move to new business. Point 1 is a consent application report. File B41, 2014. The owner applicant is Swiss Valley Farms Limited. This is at lot 42, concession 7, East Wallanosh Ward, Township of North Huron. And that to move this forward, we require a motion. Hallahan and Campbell. Barb?
Just like to bring to council's attention that when you are supporting this consent application, that there are 7 conditions that council will be requesting go with this consent application.
That would be a motion, isn't it?
Yes,
That
that's
is in
part
the
of the
motion.
motion. Do you want the conditions read out, or they're sort of the standard ones? Pardon?
Yeah.
They are
They're in the package. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, and point 2, Denise Van Amersfoort has put in a report on the status update on the Wingman area industrial land strategy. That is just for information.
Can I just ask one question on that?
Yes.
We had the public meeting, and I believe that the only land in North Huron that was being part as the owner of the land told us that she did not want to sell her land. Has that changed? Do we know which land we're talking about here? Let me rephrase that. Do we know the land in North Huron that we're talking about here?
It was, I believe it was identified in the mapping.
Which was the Biax property, and they said they didn't want to sell it at the meeting. So that is the only land we're talking about here, as far as North Huron is concerned? Maybe somebody could get
Offhand,
back
I
to me.
can't say.
Maybe somebody could get back to me.
We'll dig that out.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving to council information, points that councilors may want to move forward. Brock?
I don't know whether to get into this or not, but I find the letter that, and the press release from Morris Turnberry very revealing. I think they have a lot of misunderstandings about what is going on. They seem to have the notion that Morris Turnberry, that North Huron has an obligation to provide service to our neighbors, and that somehow that overrides everything else that we do. So it's just, I think we're at a stalemate, and we have negotiated. We have been the negotiators. We have made 2 huge concessions, and they've always responded with no, no, no. So we're at the point now where they're saying that they have no intention of making these payments that we've requested. And so it's my understanding that our sense has been that that we are insisting on payment, that the municipality has a responsibility to pay for the services that are providing them and which allow them to receive an enormous increase in tax revenue from a property that has been rezoned industrial. So I stand fast with the position that we've taken and the bylaw that we passed, and unless there's some flexibility on their part, I don't see any point in meeting any further.
I'd just like to follow that up with the fact that at our first public meeting we had with them, we had given them, or I had given them a list of several municipalities around us and the sharing that they've done and the reasons they should share. And I've shared that with all the councilors again tonight with the press. Anybody in the public would like a copy of it, I'm willing to, it's right here, you can have a copy. I think this is something that the next councils will have to sit down and discuss, and I think we will come to terms. I agree with you, Brock, everything seems to be no, but sooner or later somebody has to realize the financial impact that it's having on both communities. And we have acted in good faith and will continue to with the new council, provided I'm here. I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but we will act in good faith. So yes, it is a situation where we need to move forward. Having said that, my platform for the next council is...
Your worship.
I can't say this.
Point of order.
Point of order. I apologize for that then. My conversations, as we all know, are we need to move on, quit arguing with our neighbors. If they don't want to get along, we have thousands of acres in East Wawanosh we can build on. Is that a better way to put it?
Yes.
So,
Archie?
Your worship, you might think that the council's position they've taken has been fairly simple. In the ratepayers that I have spoken to over the last year, 2 years, and even longer, this has been an issue for quite some time. We do want to work with our neighbors, absolutely. But as we all know around this table, going through the strategic planning process, which this council took quite a bit of time and effort on, you know, North Huron's, part of the North Huron's problem is that it boils down to the need for more assessment. You can only do one of two things. You can cut services or raise revenues, and the primary tool that municipalities use for raising revenues is assessment. It's increased development. And because we are in a difficult spot with land, to continue to run services, which I understand that they have said that they will seek legal advice, and it's I think that's a prudent thing. We did seek legal advice before we put the policy together, and our lawyers from Kitchener, I believe, told us very clearly that the municipality is not under any obligation. No municipality is under any obligation to extend services into a neighboring municipality. There is no way to force a municipality to do that. So agreements have to be made. You know, it seems to me that there is, on some level in the ratepayers, some tiredness of continually putting services out, and yes, the person using the service is paying for something on future connections, but there's nothing coming back where North Huron really needs it, which is in tax revenue. That's the problem. When you look at a number of the developments, whether it's Brightspan or the West Castle Line or any other future development, we run the services out at the 1.5 plus the capital, whatever. The person who's hooking in pays that. The township of Morris Turnberry receives all the tax benefits. Yes, jobs are important, but this municipality needs some form of that share of taxes coming back into our tax base. And I think that's why the number that was picked, in my mind, seems reasonable. I know there was those around the table that wanted 50%. I know there was talk about wanting to go back further. And I think, the fact that the council looked at 30% was trying to find a middle ground that at least we'd be able to go to our taxpayers and say, we are getting something back in tax revenue. So, hopefully the next council will be able to break the deadlock, and I don't think the 30% is unreasonable. Obviously, what Councillor Bailey handed out this evening, there's many examples of other municipalities that have cut similar, if not close to similar deals. So,
Well, not to belabor it, but what we are doing is we are putting part of the capacity that we have, and when it is not to a North Huron property, why in 2005 did Morris Turnberry turn a property or a section of property over to North Huron to guarantee that we would supply services to another portion of the property that they were keeping for development? We promised to do that. That happens time and time again. If you're getting the services or using part of a municipality's capacity to provide services, there usually is something coming back. For far too long, North Huron has been providing services by strictly being the good neighbor. At some time, we have to have that. There was a facilitator's report done on that. Basically, I'm not going to rehash that right now, but I go back to what the facilitator said on how both municipalities have to negotiate. That hasn't happened as yet.
Just one last point, Your Worship, because I only have a little while longer to beat the drum. You know, I think the magic bullet really is amalgamation, because then there's no squabbling over any services. It's all owned by everybody, and everybody reaps the benefits.
Okay? That's been a lot of discussion, so that it's for information. On point 1, I'm not going to make the motion, but I think it's something that we, as a council, will have to keep working through Roma and AMO to try and get the provincial government to do something on joint and several liability. We were thanked for the support, and maybe this isn't necessarily the time to do it, but it's something we will have to do.
Can I make another comment on
You
that?
may.
I think this is extremely important that we pass on to the next council the need to do this. There's a whole flock of issues having to do with rural municipalities that need attention. I remember speaking to a member of Roma who was also on the AMO board at one point, asking why they weren't giving more support to the communities that were trying to avoid the closure of their schools. And they said, well, half of our members are very pleased with the closure of schools. They love it, so we can't take a position. Well, I mean, that leaves us out in the cold. The very organization that pretends to represent us is being waylaid by people who are not interested in our needs or requirements. So I think we need to take an active role.
Okay. Any further comments on council information? Receive, read, and file. Motion.
Also,
Gordon and Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Committee reports as they were in your package. Live BIA. If anybody has questions or anything extra to add to the package? Okay.
I'll just make one small comment that I think you saw that we spent 17,000 recruits, spending 17,000 on lights. I think we'll pretty much very shortly have that all covered through donations, corporate and otherwise. So the BIA will be happy that we have more than covered our expenses through private means as opposed to requesting money from council.
Okay, on behalf of council, I thank you to those that have helped in that. Okay, moving to point 2, Health and Safety Committee. Any questions on it? 3, North Huron Police Services meeting of
June minutes are there.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, I don't think there was a lot that happened at that meeting. We did have our police advisory sitting in our meeting last month, so I'll have more to report possibly in the November meeting.
Okay. Moving to point 4, the Richard W. Levan Airport Committee, the September 3rd meeting.
Just one note of interest in our September meeting, there has been some improvement with the traffic down at the school.
Oh, okay.
the time being changed, if there is
Noticeable
but you
improvement.
know, you won't hear that till next month, but there has been a great improvement.
Okay. Moving to bylaws. Bylaw number 71, 2014, being a bylaw to authorize the leave and CAO clerk or designate to sign on behalf of council an agreement with the County of Bruce for child care services.
Move first, second, and third reading.
From Auden and Bailey. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 72, 2014, being a bylaw to authorize the Region Clerk to sign on behalf of council an encroachment agreement with trustees of the Blythe Unit of the International Association of Lions Clubs.
So moved, first, second, third.
Campbell and Knott. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 73, 2014, being a bylaw to authorize the signing by designated officials the contract agreements for the Alice Monroe LMP research proposals.
So move first, second, and third.
Modden and Bailey. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 74, 2014, being a bylaw to appoint a fire prevention officer and provincial offenses officers for the township of North Huron. Hallahan and Knott. All in favor? Carried. Council reports and inquiries. James?
I noticed in the last few days that there is a fence around where the new Tim Hortons is going to be applied. Have we heard anything on any kind of a water sewer agreement with Central? Or are we still just floating around here?
Yeah, I haven't heard back from them. That lot was already serviced, so I'm assuming that unless they're asking for an increase in service, and to date I haven't heard anything back from them, what they need to
So
an application.
we haven't had correspondence from them.
No.
I understood that they were going to have to do some kind of a different rezoning and a bigger water line had to go in, but I don't know, that's just hearsay.
Yeah, I saw the draft, and I believe it was more the sewer, I think. They were wanting a 6-inch sewer lateral, which there's only a 4-inch here now. There again, I have received no applications or correspondence from them. So.
Okay. Other, Councilor Hallahan.
The Huron Pioneer Fashion Hobby Association is hosting the All Shows meeting live on October the Community Center, October the 25th at 10 o'clock. What that is there's approximately 25 shows in Ontario, and they all get together once a year. They're hosting it this year, so everybody's welcome to come to discuss how the shows are going, a lot of insurance, admission, activities, anything, advertising, a lot of things. So it's kind of interesting. So I talked to Connie. She's going to help me put some packages together from North Huron for those attending. So everybody's welcome to come.
Thank
10
you,
o'clock.
Rick.
10 o'clock, pretty much. 10 o'clock, but we're at the upstairs in the meeting.
Be upstairs.
Anything else? Okay, CAO report, Barbara?
Before I get started with my report, I'd just like to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with your wonderful staff. I'm not here on a permanent basis for right now, but I do come in and try and get done what needs to be done. And Kathy and Richard and I are working away at getting anybody that needs a ballot, and just encourage the public to get their mail-in ballots in. They can take them to the post office, or they can drop them in at our office here. On a second note, I received an email from Connie Goodall, our Economic Development Officer, and just to keep council abreast, she's been asked to sit on the hospital expansion committee, who are going to review the proposals for the drugstores to rent or lease space in the old public schools. So just wanted to make sure council's aware that staff will be going out and assisting with that process. Aside from that, I don't know if you have anything for me, but again, thank you very much for the opportunity to work with your staff.
Thank you. Okay, public gallery questions or comments on subjects that we've dealt with tonight? Debbie?
To Donna and yourself, Ruth, is that the final bylaw for the Lions Club, Lane? No.
Nice try. It's a 10-year process.
It's another process that's largely finished. More to come.
Brent?
Yeah, I'd like to get information from Bernie if good,
Yes,
if you have
yeah.
it available.
I'll give it to you after. I'll give it to you.
After
Very
the
good.
meeting? Please?
Yes, I got a couple. The balloting
Can
mailing.
we have the person step to the, people should be stepping to the podium. I think that's part of the procedure.
Well, I can do that. I can show you my shirt too on that.
That's cute.
Yeah, I talked to him. I'll be there Friday, by the way, so.
And identify yourself,
The ballot
Brad.
mailing proceed, it's costing us $6,103.28 to mail them and return them. How come so much? When we could
Well,
just
the-
come to here again.
Council voted and made a decision. It was not necessarily unanimous. We don't know how much it's going to cost us for the returned ballots. A number of them will be carried in, so those will not add up in Canada Post. There's a number of ways of doing an election. Council made a decision to go to the mail-in ballot this year. Yes, there's expenses. For where we had polls, there are expenses. For the municipalities that have gone to internet voting, in my experience of what I've heard, there's a lot bigger expenses. That is something that council made a decision. As head of council, I defend that position. Those costs are what they are in identifying how to run the election. Councilor
Just
McGowan?
one other point, Your Worship, through you to Mr. Carter. Council made that decision after looking at various other municipalities, comparing data that they had with regards to voter turnout. I know that you and some of your colleagues are quite in favor of having larger voter turnout, so I'm not quite sure why the voice against the mail-in ballots. I've had a lot of positive comments. I can't speak about Blythe and East Wallinosh, but a lot of positive comments within Wingham about the ballots. They seem to be fairly simple to fill out. I understand there's a number of people bringing them into the town hall or mailing them, and I've not heard any complaints actually so far. They actually like it. It takes the problem of, polling days are typically days with rain, and rain drives down voter turnout too. So quite a few people have commented to me that they're appreciative that this gives them the flexibility that they would like to be able to still have their voice heard, whereas in the older system, they would either have to go out in the bad weather or not vote at all. And I think we want to encourage as many people to vote as we can, and if this is one tool that we can use to elicit that, I think that's great. I think there's a number of municipalities that are utilizing telephone voting and internet voting, as council discussed all those options and decided that they weren't in favor of some of those because they believed that there was some pitfalls in some of those areas, so they went with the best option, one which a number of municipalities within Huron County do utilize, and I think Bart could speak to that probably. I know our neighbors, North Turnberry, have done it for at least two elections, I believe, with great success. So I think it's a good decision, and we'll see. Hopefully the turnout will be substantially higher.
Yes, well, when we did this, the meeting on vote by mail, when you guys passed it, you passed on looking into it, but that night it was passed as actual doing it.
Actually, through you, Your Worship, a number of us have discussed the issue with a number of other municipalities, and we have received a report, as far as I can recall, from the clerk, so I'm not sure what Mr. McArthur's talking about. If he's suggesting that this council made a flippant decision without any information, then there's nothing furthest from the truth, so I don't know where he's getting that information.
The decision to go ahead and do it was made after the survey from other municipalities came back.
Okay, we'll let that one right. Another one, the OPP cost, you said $256.97 per month, or per year for life and wellness, right?
That will be for the year 2015. It will be more in each successive year.
Well, my question is, what is it costing Wingham's per household for their police service? The 1.5 million.
We can get that data.
We can get that for you.
Okay. And the last question, this OGRA conference that Mr. Vincent went to, was that any benefit for North Huron?
It is of great benefit to North Huron for me to meet with senior ministry personnel. If you take a look at taxes we collect and money this municipality spends, the money for me being at conferences discussing our needs with ministry personnel is of great benefit to this municipality.
Thank you very much.
Could I ask a couple of questions through you about the policing question, Mr. Carter? There's two things, and he may or may not wish to answer, but the first question is, I wonder if he's been into the police chief and have discussions about the level of service that the Wing Police provide with regards to costings and the revenue that we get through ride programs and different things like that. Question number two is, I'm wondering if is he aware of what the subsidized costs used to be in Blythe and East Wallinosh for policing? I don't know if you'd like to answer those.
I'm not sure about it. I'd like to find out what they were.
It was $90 a household, actually, for the OPP. And so, just through you again, Your Worship, did I understand correctly that Mr. Carter hasn't been able to speak to the police chief to get some information?
No, it's just, I was wondering what it was.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Oh, I get big.
If there doesn't look like any other questions, a motion to go in camera. McGowan and Bodden. Okay. It's for the security of property of the municipality or local board and personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including a municipal or local board employee. All in favor? Carried.